what got them to be a millionaire, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the practical side of wealth. You'll also get to meet the women behind the scenes helping make it happen. Let's dive into Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, best-selling author of 3 books, wealth advisor, and founder of the Women's Wealth Boutique. Let's start meeting the women.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to this evening at the Wealth Boutique, hosting the wonderful Amber Balcaen with us, speaking tonight about her victorious career in NASCAR. Just to give you a little insight about Amber, she is a 3rd-generation NASCAR driver. She won her first NASCAR race at the age of 25, and she's not just a pretty face, just like all of you. She actually has a business degree, and she's raised over $5 million in sponsorships for her NASCAR opportunities that she's accomplished over the years. So I want to also thank Delaware Life, our sponsor, for Amber being here tonight. And just thank them very much so for being able to allow us to have Amber with us and their sponsorship in this event. So thank you, Delaware Life. And Amber, thank you for being with us.
Welcome to our first in-person Women Behind the Millions episode. This will be our season finale of our Rise and Find season. And what a perfect chance to have Amber Balcaen with us, a woman race car driver, 3rd generation. What was it like growing up? Was it just always a part of your life?
It was, yes. So I've been going to the racetrack since I've been in my mom's belly. My mom grew up in a racing family. My grandfather raced, and then my dad raced as well. So they actually met at the racetrack, and they had me. And I'm an only child, so I didn't have to fight off a brother for a seat in the car, thankfully. And ever since I knew what racing was, I knew I wanted to do it. I had all boy cousins, so I saw them racing and being successful at it, and I really wanted to try. And at about 10 years old, after probably 8 years of begging my dad to let me race, my mom was like, she's not going to stop asking, so we need to let her race. My mom always really wanted to race, but she was the girl in the family. Her brother got to race, so she was like, we can't do what my dad did to me. If Amber wants to do this, we have to let her do this. So there was some contingencies with that. My dad said, if you want to race, you have to raise the money for the go-kart yourself. You have to work on the go-kart. So since the age of 10, I've been I don't work on my own cars anymore at this level, but was working on my own cars and also raising sponsorships. So I have 22 years of business experience in the sport, which I'm grateful for now because it's taught me so much. And now I feel that if I ever stepped away from racing, I would have the business skills to really start anything else. But at the time, it was tough because my family had all kind of been given everything to them, and I was all my boy cousins was funded by my grandparents, and I was the only one to have to do it by myself and on my own. And when you're in the midst of something, sometimes you can get resentful because of certain things or feel it's unfair. And then years down the road, you get a bird's eye view and say, wow, I'm so grateful that it worked out that way, because now I've built all these skills, I've grown this much as a person, and because of that, you've become at peace with how things were. So I'm very great. It made it a lot more difficult, my journey a lot more difficult, but I'm super grateful for it because of who it's built me up to be.
Sure. That perseverance, do you think how has that helped you being in such a male-dominated industry as well? You constantly had to fight for your spot to be there. That pressure, a lot of burden, a lot of responsibility as well.
Yeah, I think that mental toughness is extremely important, whether it's in racing or in business. And I truly believe that internal work is just as important as external work. You can put all the hours into your business or into your sport, but if you don't put the hours into yourself, whether it's reading, meditating, exercising, eating well, you need to, so many athletes deal with mental health issues. I've dealt with mental health issues my whole life. And I find the more work I put in internally to my mental health and my mental well-being and self-love and self-acceptance and self-worth, the better I do on the racetrack. I know that as soon as I start feeling down on myself, it's reflected in my results. And it's kind of a catch-22 because sometimes my results on the racetrack can make me feel less than. And that's when I need to come back into myself, be grounded, realize, I'm not just a race car driver. I'm also a daughter, a business person, a friend, and all these other things. And I think that's the toughest part for me in my sport is not tying my self-worth to my results on the racetrack, but knowing that, I am proud of who I am as a person. And I'm sure a lot of you can resonate with, it's very easy to go, oh, I'm making this much, or my business is failing, or it's doing well. And that doesn't always result in who you are as a human being. And so that's something I constantly work on. And of course, the outside factors of being the only female or one of the very few females in a male dominated sport. And I'm constantly checking myself because it's very easy to feel like I'm not good enough. And well, if I was a man, would I have different opportunities? Would I have more people believe in me? This, that, you have all these questions in your mind. But my number one piece of advice always is for women wanting to be in male-dominated sports or industries is try your best to take gender out of it and just work on being the best at what you can be. So for me, that's try to focus on being the best race car driver I can be. Do we have to work harder? Yes. Do we have to work more to prove ourselves? And do we get questioned? Yes. But if you try to kind of push that aside and just focus on being the best you can be at what you do, I think the respect comes eventually, and the results come too.
Sure. That's a lot of experience to have at such a young age to take that in, right? And you hear from successful people, they had the paper route growing up, right? They did something that was very entrepreneurial as well. Talked about mental health. How about the period of time when you get into a flaw, right? You have it as, advisors to our audiences, right? You get into the swamp, this period of time that you can't quite shake. I felt it playing sports growing up in basketball. You have a few bad games. You're in that spiral. Have you experienced that? And then how do you get out of it?
All the time. I experience it all the time. And the thing is you can do all this inner work and healing and feel like you're making so much progress. And you're like, all right, I figured it out. I got it now. And then something happens. And you're like, and it kind of gets you down. And you're like, well, I thought I had this figured out. And then you got to rework and relearn and reheal and reprocess things and figure out how you can get yourself back up again. And I think that mental health or internal work is the exact same as exercising. Obviously, being an athlete, I'm in the gym 24/7. Because if I don't continue to work the muscles, they're not going to work. I think the internal is the exact same thing. You can never take a break. You can never take time off. You always have to be checking in with yourself and assessing yourself and seeing where you can be better and how you can feel better, where your intentions lie and how you can move forward in a progressive and healthy way.
Do you feel you can get yourself out of them quicker?
Yes.
So the same muscle, right? You said if you don't work the muscles, they won't work. They won't show up for you, but now you can get out of those funks quicker.
For sure. And I think you can identify those funks earlier and realize, okay, what has helped me in the past get out of it? What do I maybe need to do a little bit different this time or add more or less? How do I pivot? How do I restructure to be more productive and feel better within and without?
You can catch it quicker.
Yes.
The spiral gets too deep.
Yeah.
Right? For it too. What is it like being in the car going that fast? That was the number one question we got from people. What is that feeling and what's your favorite part?
So it's the best part of what I do by far. Like the amount of preparation during the week we put into these races and the amount of time that I spent trying to raise sponsorship to race and finding the teams and all this, it makes it all worth it when I get to strap into that race car and hear drivers start your engines. That is like, I get goosebumps just talking about that. My favorite part of race day is because it's, I don't know if you guys have heard of Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now book. So I read that book and it was really cool. There's a passage in it that said race car drivers are one of the very few people that truly get to experience what it's like to be in the moment at that time. And when I read that, I was like, wow, like that is so cool that I got to read that and also that I get to experience it. And it's so true because when we are in the car and we're going speeds of 180 mph plus, there's so much happening so fast that you are not thinking of anything else. You are not thinking of, whether you need to make money or the relationships or this or that. All you're thinking about is how do I make this car go the fastest it can around the track? How do I keep the cars behind me? How do I pass the cars in front of me? How do I manipulate the air? How do I hit my line properly? How do I, avoid wrecks? How do I be the best driver I can be on this racetrack right now? And you have to be extremely, extremely focused. I always say I drive at a subconscious level to the point where you're going so fast and so much is happening around you. There's so many different sensory inputs that you don't even have time to really think about it all or process it. You're doing. And that's, I think, why I'm so addicted to the sport, is because there's not a lot of things that get to make you feel that euphoria of nothing else matters around me. I'm just so locked in. I'm at a subconscious level where like you don't have time to think or process of anything else. So I think that's the most addicting part to
You're
it.
just in the zone.
Yeah.
Almost like on autopilot.
Yeah.
For it. That's incredible. I had so many questions now. What is it like? You said building up to that race. So is it like a week in between races? And then what are you doing that week leading into it?
Yeah. So during the week is our preparation. So what that looks like is I train every day at Toyota Performance Center. So lifting weights, cardio. Today I did the heat room. So it gets to be 140 degrees in our cars. So we actually train once a week in a heat lab where it emulates that heat. And being in there for an hour and a half, and plus you can imagine you're sweating a lot. You're having to focus that whole time. Your body gets drained. And even as a female, our heart rates tend to be a lot higher than the guys. So me and the females that are a part of the Toyota Performance Center as well, our heart rates can be 200 plus, where they really should be around 170 where the men are, but women run 100 depending on our cycles. That can have effect on everything. So we actually have a female trainer right now that is looking more into how cycles affect our performance and things like that. So sorry, I get so off top.
No, that's fascinating.
And so, we train, and then we also use simulators to help practice, because we can't really go to the racetrack to practice. It can cost $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for one day of practice. So, and there's also rules and regulations against how much we can practice. So we use simulators, a thing called iRacing, where it's the same track and it's kind of like a computer game, and we practice that. So today I went to the race shop this morning, and then I went to training. Then I went on the simulator. I went home, ate, showered, and came here.
So you're in there like a working day.
Yes. Yeah. We still have working days, and then we do, podcast interviews, a sponsor, whether it be appearances or meetings.
Sure.
So we still kind of work a full day. Most people are like, oh, a race car driver is just chill during the week. They don't do anything. But, when we're at the shop, we're talking to our engineers, our crew chiefs, figuring out race strategies, plans on how we can execute the best going forward. So it's a lot of, I always say that racing is such a business, because I think as far as business, relationships are everything in business. Like I read a book called Relationships First, and I truly believe, like, to be successful in business, you have to be strong at building relationships, maintaining them. And it's the same in racing. It's really a team sport. The better relationship I have with my crew chief, my crew, my engineers, the better chemistry we have, the more successful we're going to be. So there are so many similarities with racing and business. Like it's honestly crazy.
And it seems you keep mentioning books. You're very into self-discovery, self-growth, learning, constantly on this journey of getting better.
For sure.
How many people are on your team?
So we have the biggest team, which are 5 people. Usually there's 2 to 4 max. As far as drivers.
Okay.
As far as my personal car team, like my car, there's about 12 mechanics, everyone like that. But as a whole, oh my gosh, there's got to be over 50 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
50 people. Very cool. When did you have that epiphany where, like, I can actually make this into a business, into a career?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So I am from Canada. I went to school there and I was just a local dirt track racer. Same with all of my family. They all had 9 to 5 jobs and raced on weekends. That was our hobby. That was what we loved to do. And my parents were always very in support of going to school and getting your education. And so I went and got my business degree. And when I was in class, I would just be dreaming of racing the whole time. And every project that I had any freedom, I would do it on racing. I did
Doodling.
projects on Stagger. I did projects on racing safety. I did projects on everything to do with racing. So there was a time. So I had my 2-year degree. I went back for my 4-year, and I was taking a religion class, and one of the first assignments was for us to go out in nature and ask nature questions to receive our answers. And at that time in my life, I was, what do I do with my life? I'm in my early 20s. What do I do with my life? And every sign that I received was, you need to go racing. That same day, my dad had a heart attack. And my dad is healthy. He doesn't smoke. He drinks, but just casual bush lights once in a while kind of thing. It was very shocking that he had almost died. He had like 95% blockage in his arteries or in his veins. And I'd never seen my dad in that vulnerable of a position. My mom has multiple sclerosis, so I'd seen health issues with my mom, but never my dad. My dad's, the rock of the family. So just seeing how quickly life can be taken away from you, and also all the signs I got from nature and the universe of where I should be. It was between those two things happening that I was like, life is so short. Why am I not going for what I want? Like, I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I don't want to live in Winnipeg. I want to live in North Carolina. I want to race cars. So I went home to my parents that night after being in class, and I said, I want to drop out of university and I want to pursue racing as a career. And they're like, are you crazy? Like, how are you going to make that happen? We can't support you financially. And I said, I know that. And they're like, well, you're going to have to get an immigration lawyer and get a visa. And how are you going to move down there? You can't just move to the States. It doesn't work like that. And like, I know. And they're like, well, like, we support you if you want to do that, but it's going to be hard. And I had no idea how hard it actually was going to be. Like, sometimes ignorance is bliss. I think when you're young and naive, like, I thought it was going to be a breeze. And then I realized it's not. But yeah, so that was in 2013 that I took the jump, or 2014, and I'm so glad I did. It's been a very difficult journey of lots of ups and downs, but I think the biggest thing that I've got out of this journey is it's built me into a woman I can be proud of, and I think that's the best part of it, honestly.
Oh, sure. What is the sponsorship process like? Take us through you raised $5 million. That's a lot of money. What is it? Is it an active thing that you were constantly looking to partner with different people?
Yeah. So for years, I'd reached out to thousands and thousands of companies year after year after year. There was about 3 years of my career where I didn't have really any sponsorship. I only raced a couple times. And being here on a visa, that meant I was broke. I had no money. I wasn't able to make money. Otherwise, I wasn't to get a part-time job at Starbucks or anything like that. I was only able to make money through racing. When you're not racing full-time, you can't make money. So it was very difficult. I didn't have any friends, any family here. I moved here on my own. So I was broke, lonely, not getting to live my dream like I thought I was going to. And but day after day, I'd get up, call people, emails, year after year after year. And it was to the point where people are like, why don't you just give up already? Like, it's clearly not working for you. You've been here for almost 5 years now. You didn't make it. Like, just be a reporter. Of course. Do you guys not feel like giving up someday?
It was so much easier to just get a corporate job.
I know, like, of course, there's still days that I'm like, what am I doing? Like, can I do this? Of course it did, but I've always had a vision for my life, and I would think it's super important to hold that vision for yourself. And if you're able to pivot and keep working, keep consistent, and figure out what you need to do to make it happen, then you can make it happen. I'm a true believer in that. And everyone laughed in my face when I said, I want to be a NASCAR driver, but I was like, watch me. Like, I'm going to make it happen. It might take a while. It might take way longer than everyone else, but I'm going to make it happen. And I did.
Is it easier now once you get a few under your belt, a few sponsors, you proved yourself? Do you find it easier? Or then you're going to that next level sponsorship?
Yes, exactly. So I had received enough sponsorship to come here and race in the local NASCAR series, and I'd won, and I was like, oh, my career is going to take off. It's going to be amazing. And it didn't work like that. To go up to the next level, I needed about $1.5 million more. So in 2021 was when I was able to get my 7-figure sponsorship, and they stuck with me from 2021, 2022. And then in 2023, they're like, you know what, we're just not seeing the return on investment that is needed. So we're only going to do 3 races instead of a full season. And that's when I had to, again, reevaluate I had to figure out, how do I actually prove return on investment? Because not only am I a race car driver, but I'm now needing to be a marketer, a business developmenter. I don't think that's a word, but someone who can help with business development. And so I'd done everything on my own for a really long time. And I don't know if it was my pride or what it was, but I had realized I can't do this all on my own anymore. I can't race cars and be a marketer and be a business development and do this and do that. And I finally realized, like, I need a team of people to help me do this. And so I remember, like, praying and asking the universe, like, please send me people who can help me achieve my goals and help me achieve. And then this season I got a management team, and they've been helping me facilitate this relationship with my main sponsor now to a point where my sponsor is getting a huge return on investment, and they're extremely happy, and they're having so much fun and really enjoying every aspect of this. And we've really helped grow their business. And so even on races where it didn't go well, and they come over to me after and they're like, Amber, you're helping grow our business. And this is a multi-million-dollar company. You know, they're sponsoring the million. So they're a large company. And so to help grow their business, doing what I love in racing is very fulfilling. So even if I'm not being fulfilled by my results on the track, knowing that I'm helping them and getting to work with them, they're such great people. I think that's a really big thing too, is like having the right people around you is everything.
Does it feel like I made it? When they say that to you, it's like, I can breathe? It's like the pressure's kind of off of you?
A little bit.
Or there's still more?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you ever really feel like you made it.
Yeah.
I think you always kind of want a little more. It is fun. It's definitely validating.
And you made a point. It's almost as if, right, the other sponsors in the past, they didn't know how to optimize that sponsorship with you, right? How to promote it, how to utilize you. Whereas the new sponsor seems that they're able to do that in a much better way.
So this is the same sponsor I've had for the last 4 years.
Okay.
But I think it's my responsibility to make the relationship work.
Yeah.
So that was on me to figure out, how do I make this better? What do I need to adjust? And for me, it was bringing in people that had more experience with the business to business side of the sport to give them better return on their investment.
Sure. And the sponsorship, what does that come into play with building your own brand? Your own personal brand?
Yes. Yeah. So that's something I started when I was back in Canada, because racing is not popular in Canada. It's much more popular in the US. And I was at that time doing very well in racing. I was winning a lot. And I'm like, how do I catch the attention of people in the US where NASCAR is and where all the big decision makers are? And so before Instagram and YouTube and everything was big, I would make little videos and post them. And I tried to use social media as much as I could to kind of catch that eye of the people down south. And it worked, because after I was like, made sure I posted after every win. And that's when I caught the eye of the NASCAR diversity program. And honestly, that's what really opened my eyes to what could be possible.
Oh my goodness. Amazing. Yeah, you've helped incredibly well with that too. Has a business degree also helped with building out the business side of your work?
You know what? I want to say yes, but I
a lot of self.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was learning. And you know, if I had to do it over, I actually wouldn't have went to school at all, and would have just tried to do this a lot sooner.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes you just have those natural abilities that work for you. I knew my strengths, and I knew a lot of them aligned with business. My dad as well is you know, someone who is very business oriented, and we're outgoing, we're talkative, we're good at building relationships. And so I think a lot of that kind of helped. School, it taught me what ROI stands for. It taught, it taught me things like that, but I don't think you can beat actual experience.
Real life experience.
Yeah.
Have you, because your grandfather was a race car driver, your father was as well. Have you surpassed them with your success?
Not in wins. My dad has like
Any wins?
56 championships and 500 wins or something crazy like that. I'll never beat him there. It's kind of a tit for tat thing. It's, did they make it to NASCAR? No, but they won way more than I have. So we've each found success in our own ways.
Oh, good. Very nice. How about, how many women are in NASCAR and race car driving?
So there's definitely more and more females coming into our sport for sure. When I first started racing, I was usually the only girl. Now there's at least one other girl in most of my races. My teammate is a female as well. And it's been really great for us to kind of be there for each other and be able to relate on a lot of things because we tell each other there's no one that understands what it's like to be us except us. So that's been really neat to have her there. And I'd say there's more and more coming up. We haven't seen a female in the Cup Series since Danica Patrick. It might be a while before we see that again. This is a very, very difficult sport. And what she did was incredible. We had Haley Deegan in the Xfinity Series. She was kind of the closest to Cup, but there's quite a few in my series and like the series that are feeding up to the Cup Series.
Okay, so it'll be a little bit. As NASCAR, are they doing more to get more women into, more outreach, empower more women? Is there a drop off that you see happening?
So there's the NASCAR Diversity Program, which is inclusive for females and then different ethnicities as well. So that's what kind of introduced me to NASCAR. So their objective is to, push diversity into the sport, which I think is great. We see Bubba Wallace in the Cup Series, who's the only African-American in the Cup Series. Daniel Suarez is Mexican. We have Kyle Larson, who's Asian, and unfortunately no female right now, but we did have Danica Patrick. So there definitely is more. They're actually making it more international. Now we have SVG. He's from New Zealand. So they're making it a little bit more international, and I think that's great for our sport because NASCAR was known as, the redneck white hillbilly sport. And don't get me wrong, like don't let the pink fool you. I am still a bit of a redneck, but no, I think NASCAR's done a really good job of expanding their fan base and making it more inclusive.
Talk to us about, can we talk about the recent project that you're working on, the documentary as well? So Reese Witherspoon's production company reached out to you and other female NASCAR drivers, and they're putting together a series, a documentary.
Yeah. So it'll be called For the W, which could be for the women or for the win. And it will be a multi-part series that follows women in the WNBA, soccer.
Amazing.
I can't remember all of them, but there's quite a few. And then ours is, of course, NASCAR. So really excited to be a part of that project. Really neat that Reese Witherspoon has such passion for empowering women like that. So I'm really excited to be a part of the project.
And her production company's name is?
Hello Sunshine.
Hello Sunshine. It just fits her personality.
Yes. She is sunshine.
She is. That's what you picture.
Yeah.
Bright yellow golden sunshine as well. What's the future for you?
Future for me, I would like to continue to improve and hopefully win soon in the NASCAR series. There's been no female to win in NASCAR's Arc Menard series, which is a national series of NASCAR. So my goal is to be the first woman to do that and to climb the ranks as much as I can, but also live a happy life. I think happiness sometimes is overlooked when it comes to success. And I want to be just as successful in happiness and life than I do. I think when you're younger, you just see I want to be rich and successful and this and that. And then when you get older, you're like, I want to be happy.
You'll trade anything.
So yeah, I think, accomplishing things feels really good. But when you can have inner peace and wholeness, it's really good too.
What does maternity leave leave look like as a NASCAR driver?
There is no maternity
What
leave.
happens there? It's like everything's on pause. Will the sponsor stay, or do you have to kind of prove yourself again?
Yeah, there's no maternity leave for NASCAR. You'd either have to take a year off, or another option I think would be get a surrogate.
Yeah, it's sad that you have to make that choice.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can't be in a car pregnant. Dangerous for the baby, but
Yeah, I've asked.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, interesting. I started doing Ironmans, and they're like, well, we're really helping out women now. So if you find out you're pregnant before the race, you can postpone it. I'm like, wow, thank you so much. Get this a phone for it too. I wanted to talk about, is there like a certain race, like your favorite race, or maybe your favorite win?
Yeah, there definitely is. So for me, it's Daytona. I'm sure you guys have all heard of the Daytona 500. And I had been to Daytona quite a few times as a fan. And I'm also big into visualization. And I, for years and years and years, visualized me standing by my race car at Daytona at the anthem for years. And when that moment finally came true, it was everything to me. And still, it's the only race that every year I get emotional. Like my during the anthem, I gotta wear sunglasses usually because I will tear up. And it was cool. I brought my grandma, who was married to my grandfather, who raced. She came to Daytona this year, and during the anthem, I kind of pre-warned her. I was like, it gets emotional, and she cried. I won't cry. We're all crying. Daytona's the first race of the year. It's our Super Bowl. And there's something about Daytona that just gets you in the feels. It's such a nostalgic track, such a historic track. And it was always, always my dream to say that I got to race at Daytona. So for me, Daytona never gets old.
What is it working up the ranks to that next level? What does that look like?
So the main part is money.
Okay.
So if you have the sponsorship or financial backing together, you can race it at that level.
Okay.
For me personally, I want to make sure my skills can back it. So I will stay at the level I'm at till I feel that my skill set's to the point where I can move up.
Okay.
Some people also go that route and stay at certain levels till they feel like their skill set is ready for the next. Where some people, they're like, well, I have the money, so let's just jump up to the next level. So it's a combination of skill set and money, but it's mainly financially dependent.
Do you have a coach that helps you with your skills that's on your team?
So I work with a mental coach.
Okay.
Daily almost.
And you do the visualization too? Or you do
he kind of makes sure I'm just, my head's in the right place. It's very easy to get off track. Yeah. No pun intended. So and then I work with a coach for fitness as well.
Okay.
And then as far as driving coaches, we don't really have driving coaches unless we go out and hire them. Everything is kind of additional cost. So, our crew chiefs, our spotters, they can all help show us different lines and different places of where we need to be better.
Yes.
But I have hired driving coaches in the past. It's something, it's super expensive to have all the time. Yeah.
Wow. You talked a little bit about this before. He's like, I just want to be happy, right? Being surrounded by men all the time. What are your female relationships like? It's got to be tough.
So I'm very fortunate. I've been best friends with my girlfriends from high school. And they all live in Winnipeg still. One of them lives in the US, but I'm still best friends with all of them. And those relationships are everything to me. Moving down here, it was, difficult to make friends. I wouldn't say I have any like super close friends here.
Yes.
But I know I have my girls back home, and they've known me for 15 plus years, and they've seen me through every cycle of life and so many different versions of me, and have loved me and supported me through all of that. And I think that's really special. So I feel very grateful. I wish I could see them more, but we FaceTime a lot.
Oh, good. And we've been saying this all weekend, or it's not even the weekend. It feels like the weekend, ladies, that we've noticed friendships, family, the dynamics change the more successful you get. Or they don't know how to talk to you anymore. They don't know what to say to you. And then they disconnect. It's like goes over us too. But you haven't experienced that. So that is very special.
Yeah,
that core girlfriend.
I have been very fortunate in that way. And a good portion of my girlfriends are successful in their own endeavors as well. And so we can really relate on those things. And then I have some girlfriends that are fulfilled living a more simple life, and they find happiness in the everyday. And I think it's kind of important to have both of those type of people in your life, because it gives you different perspectives. And, you know, I can call my one girlfriend and talk about how her business is growing and how we're hustling and what we're doing to improve. And then I can call my other girlfriend and she kind of grounds me because she's happy all the time, no matter what, you know, like she
doesn't from the pills.
She doesn't need, you know, success and money and that to feel fulfilled. So to me, it's kind of neat having different types of friends to learn different things from.
Yeah, you receive different things.
Yeah.
Oh, very interesting. Very nice. So what do you see the future for NASCAR too? You hope just more inclusivity?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to continue to grow the sport because I love the sport. I love being a part of it. Like anything, it has its pros and cons, its ups and downs, its areas for improvement, but I think it's going in the right direction for sure. It's a very aggressive sport. You got to be very tough to be a part of it. But again, I'm grateful for what it's a ton of grit, ton of perseverance, relentlessness, absolutely. But I'm grateful for how it's made me become who I am. I wouldn't trade it for anything, even though there are days that I'm like, why am I part of this? Why am I doing this? And there are days I want to give up, but I love it and I am super grateful.
Yeah, you can tell just your passion talking about it. It just exudes from you. What's it like date? Are men intimidated by you? And then switching, we talked about like your divine masculine, right? That grit, that action, right? Competitiveness. And then the divine feminine, right? The receiving, the love, and and flowing and stuff. How do you find switching gears?
That's a great question. That's something I've always struggled with, is balancing the masculine and feminine. I'm into masculine sports. When I'm at the track, even my voice lowers when I'm at the track, like everything, because I'm dealing with all men, and I want them to take me seriously and hear me and respect me and know that I'm for real. And so I definitely go way more into my masculine when I'm doing my sport, and even in business as well. But then I'm super feminine at the same time. So it's like knowing when to turn on the masculine switch and turn on the feminine switch and balance it out. It's super easy to overflow into one of those areas, I think. It's just kind of keeping it in check.
Yes. This is a very validating conversation for myself, and I think for all of us, being a male-dominated industry too. We struggle being business owners, CEOs, and then like telling people what to do all day long, and then going home and switching gears and being the soft mom and wife as well. So
and that's the thing, is I in a relationship, I want to be feminine. I want to feel like a woman.
Yeah.
But then in my job, I know I need to be masculine, and I'm okay with that. I enjoy being in that masculine at times, but there's a time and place where I'm like, all right, let me drop into my feminine now, you know?
Yes. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, Amber. Do you ladies have any more questions for her? Wanted to open up. Yes, Alyssa.
What makes you a woman behind the million?
Oh, thank you. What makes you a woman behind the million?
Oh my goodness.
Usually my daughter is out in this question, and I don't have the button in front of me, so thank you.
That's a hard question. What makes me a woman?
You raised $5 million in sponsorship, right? You're putting a name for women in the NASCAR and race car.
For sure, yeah. I think, you know, just being in business and sports, I've had to raise a lot of money, and also, you know, I think there's a little part that it's like you got to kind of fake it till you make it. You have to believe in the vision. You have to see the vision. You have to believe in yourself and your potential before you get to it. And I think that's been a big part of my journey of why I never gave up, was I've always believed in my potential. And I think if you have a vision for your life, you believe in your potential, you know that it might be a little difficult to get where you want to go, but you kind of keep that faith and keep that relentlessness and grit about you and discipline, then you can make anything happen.
That's amazing. Well, we can't wait to keep following your story and your journey and the documentary. You said that's going to come out 2025.
Yes.
Right. So we have to make sure we follow it and blast it out to everybody as well. But thank you, Amber, so much for spending time with us tonight.
Do you guys have any questions? I want to talk to you guys.
Yeah. Oh, Carmen?
I have all the questions. We got wine, so we got all night.
Going back to what you talked about, like your cardio and your weightlifting, so like heat training was really interesting. But you
Yes.
think about like sitting in a car. So what really do your workouts entail to be able to physically do? Is it shoulder work, or do you have to see a chiropractor or stretch because of the sitting that you're doing? Like, what really do your workouts look like?
So it's a combination of both endurance and strength. The races are an hour and a half plus. So to keep, and usually our heart rates are around 170 to 190 through the whole thing, which is pretty high. So to keep that heart rate and keep that endurance, we do a lot of combination of both strength and endurance, or strength and cardio, sorry. So for the women, I think we need to work more on strength even, because we just naturally aren't as strong as men. It's just biology, right? So, I mean, other than the heat room that we do once a week, there's nothing crazy different that you'd be like, oh, wow, it's weird that you do that. Like it's kind of basic strength training workouts, I would say.
Heart rate being at 170 would be like
It's a lot.
what, like running 12 miles. I mean, I'm trying to.
Yeah.
That's even high for running.
Yeah.
That's high for running.
So
Trying to compute it, like what
Yeah.
you really need to be doing to your diet.
yeah.
Oh, I
That's a
wanted
big
to ask
part
you
as
your
well.
recovery then too. What are you doing after the race to recover for
So
your body?
the biggest thing for us is hydration. So electrolytes, I drink tons of electrolytes all throughout the day. Water, but water is not enough because you need the sodium, you need the sugar, you need all that to
What kind of
make it
electrolytes?
hold into you. So I'm a big fan of Pedialyte,
Okay.
like Pedialyte Sport. Our nutritionist at Toyota gives us like packets.
Yes.
So Drip Drop is one of the main ones that we
Okay.
use. And I actually was having some kind of health issues the season that I didn't race full time. Thankfully, it was then. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And because I was like, I drink a gallon of water a day. Like I drink so much water. And they're like, you're actually dehydrating yourself from drinking that much water because you're not getting enough sodium and electrolytes. So then I started adding sodium and electrolytes and everything. And now I've been much better with my hydration because on the super hot races, we're super delirious after. Like I've gotten out of the car and wanted to pass out. And after my very first ARCA race was in Kansas, and it was, I think, 90 plus degrees out, and it was my first long hot race. And I remember after the race, I was so delirious. I didn't know who I was or anything. And I threw up the entire drive to the airport, the entire plane ride home, and then when I got home as well, because I was so dehydrated. It was almost like the worst hangover you've ever had times 100. That's what
Get
it
an
felt
IV.
like.
Like, how do you even get that?
So
back?
yeah, so that's what if I know I'm going to a really hot race, I will get an IV beforehand, and that's helped huge.
Okay, interesting. Good
Are you
question.
good at any other sports?
I'm very average at I'm decently good at most sports, I would say. Like I did everything growing up. I did dance, gymnastics, horseback riding, volleyball. Like I did everything growing up, and I was good, but I was never great at anything. So that's racing was the thing I was best at. But yeah, like I always joke if we're playing like cornhole or something like that with someone, they're like, "Oh wow, you're really good at this." I'm like, "Yeah, guys, I'm an athlete. Like, what do you mean? Of course I'm good at it." And
Good
so
eye-hand coordination.
I think
You'll always
so.
be able to do that.
for sure, I would say like I'm not great, but I'm slightly above average,
Play
maybe.
golf?
No, I know. I just don't. I know that people get easily frustrated at golf, and I feel like
Yeah,
that.
right.
A lot of drivers play golf, though. My grandpa played golf as well when he was alive. He taught me a little bit, but it's something I've thought about getting into because, again, a lot of drivers do play golf.
It's a time commitment.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I'm like, when do I have
Really good
time?
drive.
What's that? Yeah, for sure.
Brittany?
Yeah.
Recently, all of us who is
Yes.
like really in life, since you guys see stuff.
Oh.
We do, yeah. So we use this.
Get her 3 wine glasses. I see her juggle.
No, I'm not a good juggler though. I can juggle a little, but not very well. So we use this program called SnapTech, and it has a bunch of different programs on it to test our hand-eye coordination. So we'll, oh my gosh, there's so many different. It has like a bunch of different things, like depth perception is one, hand-eye coordination. It's been a while since we haven't done them in a couple weeks. I can't remember all of them, but we use that periodically to kind of help with that kind of stuff, reaction time, things like that. I guess so. Yeah. Like, again, I don't think I was exceptional, but I wasn't bad either.
Do you have to have good, perfect vision?
We do get physicals at the beginning of every year.
Okay.
So you do, but there's guys who wear glasses and contacts and stuff too. So
yeah, that would be something.
We're not going potty.
So thankfully our races aren't that long. So usually I've never ran into that issue.
You're sweating so much. There's nothing left to pee out.
Yeah.
Most kids, it will definitely be.
But no, it was exactly what she said. We sweat so much that we're usually not hydrated enough to go at that point. But if you do have to go, you go.
You got it right.
And you can't. I mean, you can't take in any fluids while you're driving. I mean.
So we do. Some people have a water bottle. Some people. I have a bag with a hose that like I'll drink on cautions.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do have some hydration in the car, but usually it's only during cautions. Yeah. Yeah. Sure, I've never done it during the race, only like during cautions. But other than Talladega and Daytona, because the back stretches are so long that we do have time to grab it and go back. Yeah. But the short tracks, you don't have time.
Yeah. It's probably not worth it.
Have you ever gotten a speeding ticket?
Cammy's gotten a few speeding tickets. That's what she's asking.
I actually lost my license for 3 months because I had so many speeding tickets. Yeah.
What kind of car do you drive?
A BMW X1. So SUV, smaller SUV.
Yeah.
But since I've been in the States, the cops are a lot nicer here. And I've had good experiences. So in Canada, they hand out speeding tickets like it's free candy. Yeah. So yes, I was. Yeah.
That's so ironic.
Thankfully. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's your job.
I have, yeah. So I actually earlier this year I broke my foot. Before that, my worst crash was in 2020. I was in a dirt track car and flipped really bad, and I collapsed both my lungs. Had an extremely bad concussion. Was in the hospital for 4 days. That's what like this burn here is from. I burns, and that was definitely my worst one. That was the only time in my career I've ever said I'm done. Like I told my parents, I was like, I'm done. This isn't worth it. I want to live life. And the next day, I was like to the doctor, how long we talking here till I'm good again? And he's like, oh, like I wouldn't recommend racing again, but if you really have to, like a couple months. And then so a couple months I was back in the car.
You didn't realize how much you missed it. Trisha, you had a question.
About getting more women involved. Do you do anything to encourage young girls, both US and Canada? What do you do there to try to attract them to the sport?
Yeah, so I'm a part of a group called Shift Up Now, which helps women get into the sport. And we do different Zoom calls and things like that to help. And actually, I am a part of a program this year called it's ran by Bush Light. It's called the Accelerate Her program. And they did a points fund where the woman with the most points wins $125,000. So I am going to win this year. They confirmed that it's done at the end of the month. So I'll be winning that this year. And I always said, like, as soon as I can make enough money to be able to give back to sport, that's what I want to do. So I'm actually creating my own sponsorship fund and taking some of that money and giving it back to other drivers in the sport. And then anytime any girl messages me on Instagram or anything like that, I'm the first one to respond and offer advice or anything I can do to help. And same with in person as well. Like I just try to be as open as I can so that people feel comfortable asking and helping however I can. But I'd say probably Shipped Up Now program, and then also just social media, connecting with girls on there is probably the biggest. But I want to continue to expand that as much as I can. So that's why I'm super excited to start this program to be able to give back to them.
Is it more like a mentorship too?
Yeah, so I'm gonna do like the main winner will get like the biggest amount of prize fund plus mentorship, and then I'll have 2 like finalists as well that I'll provide mentorship to and sponsorship as well. And then I'm gonna lead that into racing school, but not for off track, but not for on track, but for off track. So everything else that goes with it, like the sponsorship, media, relationship building. I have it all written down. I can't remember it all right now, but I would like to provide that because there's so much to the sport that people don't know or have access to. Yeah. So to be able to provide that to help them kind of grow into the racer, because nowadays it's not just driving a race car. It's you have to be everything. You have to be able to speak, you have to be able to represent companies, you have to have business skills, you have to have people skills, you have to have relationship skills. You have to know how to train, you have to know how to eat properly. There's way more. It's not back in the day of Dale Earnhardt, or the guys who are cigarettes out of their cars and stuff. It's changed so much. So I want to be able to kind of everything that I've learned in the sport, be able to teach and give back.
Well, thank you, Amber. I know we have dinner waiting for us too. This has been incredible.
Oh, yeah, you guys must be hungry. I don't wonder.
No. Thank you so much. Hey, Money Queens, looking to get your wealth to that next level, 7, 8, 9 figures? Follow us on Instagram at PinkFixMyMoney and at Women's Wealth Boutique for more millionaire money tips.